53 to 29 on the board.
Basketball Weekly Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. Of course, the Indiana Basketball Weekly Show is brought to you by MyBookie.ag. Go to thegruelingtruth.net. Click on the MyBookie.ag banner. You can bet the Super Bowl tomorrow. Got all the prop bets, and you get a 50% bonus up to $3,000. I'm your host for the Indiana Basketball Show, Mike Goodpaster. And right now I want to welcome in my co-host, Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame member, and also a member of the 1981 Indiana Hoosier National Championship team, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Hey, doing great, Mike. How are you doing this evening?
Well, same as always. That was good till 2 hours ago. But tonight, they played really well. But the stat that stands out to me, Michigan State took 47 shots. Indiana missed 47 shots.
Yeah, this was not a good shooting night for Indiana, and it's unfortunate because he jockeys his lineup up with just enough, puts McSwain in. McSwain has a heck of a ball game, and a lot of intangibles that you aren't going to see show up in a stat sheet. But I think really McSwain was probably the catalyst as to why this team came within 3 points of Michigan State, and them not doing this last time they played them, given especially the fact that our shooting percentage is low. You know, we shoot 28% for the whole game. But, you know, I go back and I see all of a sudden McSwain starting, Durham and Devontae getting significant minutes. Devontae got 31 minutes. You know, McSwain plays 29 minutes. And what we had been kind of asking him to do all along, he shuffled his lineup around. And what I just saw was I saw the extra effort that you and I talked about a lot about that we weren't seeing out of Newkirk and Johnson. I thought the offense was much better under control. We looked to get the ball inside. I thought there was a lot more inspired basketball, going after loose balls, more than one kid, more than Roberts on the floor for a ball, and just an overall battle and just an intensity level that I saw step up. To where I really felt like this basketball team wanted to win this ball game as opposed to just play and go forward. So I'm glad he's made the changes. Let's hope he sticks with them. Again, it goes back to prove that I think Indiana's talented enough to play with just about anybody in the country. You know, we're within 3 points and a couple of made shots of taking, you know, the number 5, number 6 team and a potentially number 1 seeded team now in the tournament and taking them to the wire and possibly even beating them.
Yeah, and when you look at it, free throw shooting tonight wasn't a problem until the very end of the game. They were 18 for 25, 72%, which is a lot better than they normally do, but you get 3 critical misses in the last couple minutes. But the thing that stood out to me, I mean, they out-rebounded Michigan State 53 to 29, which I don't think any team does that.
No, I think that's just the effort of McSwain. McSwain was crashing the boards every time down the court. And now you got McRoberts crashing and McSwain crashing, and you got Morgan banging inside. All of a sudden now you got 3 rebounders down there, where before we probably only had maybe 1 or 2. And McSwain just was a huge catalyst in that aspect of the game, getting on the boards, crashing. And I think individually he ended up with individually. He ended up with 16 rebounds.
Yeah.
That's a phenomenal effort for a kid coming in and making that kind of contribution. And maybe, you know, hindsight's always 20/20. I get it. But this is not something that you and I have been harping on, you know, in the last couple of games. We've talked about these changes need to be made. It should have been made earlier. And maybe we're in a little bit different rowboat if we make these changes a little bit earlier. But that being said, it is what it is. I thought this was some of the most inspired basketball Indiana's played. I thought we were under control throughout the entire game. We gave ourselves a chance to win it up until the very last shot. I mean, Green's shot rims the back of the rim. Now, you don't ever want to put your hopes on a half-court heave, but that thing almost went in. And we get it overtime.
And I'll tell you, maybe he should start shooting from half court because he has. I mean, he was closer to making it there than he was a lot of times from the 3-point line. Not to rip him, but he's got to make these shots. And, I mean, I think Green has played much better since the end of that Illinois game. I think the last 2 games he's played fairly well, or the last 3 games. And so with him, I see some hope there. I think the shots are eventually going to fall because when he shoots the ball,
Sure.
he doesn't look like a poor shooter. He looks like a guy that just can't get anything to fall right now.
Well, he's a little lack of confidence, too, a little nervous out there. But, again, we go back to looking at Josh Newkirk, and, again, I don't want to pick on anybody personally. I mean, I'm just saying he's 0 for 6, 0 for 2, hits 2 free throws, 26 minutes, and that's his entire contribution, 1 assist. I mean, you've got to start putting your faith in Durham and Green and giving him those minutes, which he started to do tonight. And let's hope he just consistently stays with that throughout the course of the season. And I know, again, I go back to something that you and I have really wondered, scratched our heads as to why we weren't making these kind of changes a little earlier. But McSwain definitely earned a spot now alongside McRoberts, has earning himself his spot into the lineup. And I think that, truthfully, I think Devontae Green has too. I really think you insert McSwain and Green. I think there's a lot more inspired basketball. Hopefully that continues because while I think we're not mathematically eliminated, we are all but eliminated pretty much, unless we now have to win out. We cannot lose another game. We're 12-12 right now. If we want out, that puts us
18-12.
What are there, 5 games? 18-12.
18-12, and then you probably got to make it to at least the semifinals of the Big Ten tournament.
At least, probably realistically, the championship game. And then what has to happen on top of that is you have to hope that there are no major upsets in the conference championships where they don't fill at-large spots with conference champions who wouldn't have been in the tournament anyway. So we don't control our own destiny in any way, shape, or form. I think the odds are stacked away against us. But hopefully everybody took a look at this game tonight and walked away with the fact that these freshmen and sophomores need to be in the lineup. They need to be getting significant minutes. This not only benefits this team for the rest of this year, it starts to benefit this team for all of next year. And you get these kids minutes and you get them playing, you get them comfortable, so maybe they're not hesitant to take the shots that they need to be taking. You're still not getting a lot out of Johnson. Totally out of our 2 senior guards, we got 7 points.
And Johnson was worse than Newkirk. He was 2 for 15. So when you put them together, you almost beat a top 5 team in the country with your 2, what's supposed to be your senior leaders in the backcourt, going 2 for 21.
Right. But I think the reason we almost beat them isn't even really as much as their failure as I think it was the inspired play of McSwain, Durham, and Green. I really want to give those kids credit for a good effort, for Coach Miller to see that and to give those kids some minutes. And, you might as well, at this point, live and die with those kids. There's more upside than there is downside to living and dying with those kids.
Yeah, and I mean, Durham only gets 8 minutes, and he's a guy that needs to play so he can get used to playing because he's going to be, as you said, one of the guys that's going to have to do something for us next year to be a really good team.
Yeah, Newkirk gets 28 minutes and Durham gets 8. So that's 36 minutes between the two. That needs to be at least split 50-50. At the very least 50-50. And because I think that the more that Green and McSwain and Durham get on the floor right now, and I heard Justin Smith's name mentioned a fair amount too when he was in there.
We only played 7 minutes,
but
yeah.
Right, but I heard his name. I just heard, they had the camera on him and I'm hearing his name. That means that he's doing something. He's making contributions. I didn't even know Newkirk was in the game until I finally tracked down his number.
Yeah, until everybody started booing him and they brought it up.
Yeah, they did bring it up. And I don't want to see anybody booed. I don't think that's right for any Indiana fan to boo an Indiana player ever.
Well, it does you no good. It does you no good. No. I mean, the kid's already pressing, and I don't think any of us are going to sit here and say Newkirk and Johnson aren't trying. It's just the shots aren't falling, and that stuff can snowball, and it doesn't help when you've got 18,000 people booing at him too.
No, this isn't a question of love-hate. It's just a question of economics. I mean, basically, to put it in a broad scale, it's just economics as to who's going to give you a return on your investment. And I think for the rest of the season, I just think the team played harder tonight. They played more under control. I even thought that really Johnson, other than having an atrocious shooting night, didn't make a lot of turnovers or bad turnovers. I mean, he has 2 turnovers tonight, which is, we only had 8 turnovers as a team. Look, we're playing, the 2 of the freshmen are getting significant minutes, and we only make 8 turnovers as a team. Those things are really the upside. The downside is we lost the game. And it's a game that certainly would have put us, more relevant than we're going to be by losing the game, obviously. But I think it's an inspired game for Indiana. They should take positive things away from it and see where they can improve. But now it's a daunting task, as I said, and we'll move on to another topic here because there's really not much more to add to the game. Poor shooting, monsters on the boards. I mean, just getting Juwan some help underneath. We dominate one of the bigger, stronger teams in the Big Ten. Rebounding 53-29. We almost doubled. We damn near doubled them.
Yeah.
And how many of those were offensive rebounds? I know at some point they were talking about.
It was 25 to 3.
They had 3 offensive rebounds. We had 25 offensive rebounds. Now, if we're shooting good, and possibly that's where if you're giving these kids more minutes, they're more under control. I saw some flailing going up when we got the ball. When McSwain got the ball, and he's like doesn't want to get blocked, and he's kind of flailing. Getting some more minutes, get him in there, getting used to getting banged. Make him understand he has time to get himself set and draw the foul along with it, and possibly, without shooting 20%, to out-rebound a team 25-3 on the offensive boards. That's a game we should win. I mean, but preparation is critical. I don't think we've been preparing accurately until now. And so to kind of put a final nail in the coffin here, I love the fact the freshmen got minutes, the young kids got minutes. I think they made significant contributions. And I thought everybody on the team played more inspired ball. We played a much better team. Michigan State is a better team than Indiana.
Yeah.
Okay, we can play with them, but I don't think we can beat them on a routine basis. We had an opportunity to win this game tonight, but that would be out of the norm. But we certainly have the ability to play with them.
My biggest takeaway is this. I think you see with the freshmen and the sophomores that they're morphing into what Coach Miller wants. And I think in the long run, if that's what we get out of this season, I think that goes a huge way or a long way to making this team a possible tournament team next year.
Well, I agree. I think that's got to become the battle cry right now for this team is build for next year. You don't necessarily want to give up because until we're told we're not dancing in March, we don't give up. And I got a feeling these young kids are not going to give up.
No.
I think they're going to go at it and go hard. They want to earn their time, their minutes. They're going to get better and smarter as they play. But the battle cry right now is let's get these kids ready to, A, assume some leadership, and B, make significant contributions at the beginning of the season next year so we don't get ourselves in this hole to where, maybe we had won 4 or 5 games early in the year that we shouldn't have lost. Maybe we're sitting on enough of a cushion that if we play inspired ball from here on out. So my fear is we can even play inspired ball from here on out. It's not going to be enough. If we don't make a strong showing in the tournament, I don't care how inspired we play, because we're a 500 ball club right now. And the NCAA, I don't care what your name is on the front of your jersey, very unlikely to take a 500 ball club from a conference that's just not as strong as the Big Ten is this year. So had we put ourselves a little bit of a 4 or 5 game cushion by beating the Fort Waynes, beating, the Indiana States, those games that we lost and shouldn't have, maybe now Indiana's coming on. They still have a good winning record overall. We can justify putting them into the dance. But now maybe we've just put a little bit too much onus on ourselves. We'll see. Time will tell. Tonight's a good indicator. We don't play another strong team until Ohio State, last game of the season. We don't play another strong team here on out. from here on out. We play.
Well,
Rutgers,
we play at Nebraska.
Minnesota,
I think Nebraska's a good team.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and you're right. Nebraska could be, but that's a winnable ball game for us. If we play tonight against Nebraska like we played tonight, I would expect to beat Nebraska by 10 points. We're not always going to shoot this poorly. You never live and die with shooting. I mean, it's just those nights happen. There's just those bad shooting. It's the execution that would drive Coach Knight crazy. It wasn't the poor shooting. If you're not shooting good, it just happens sometimes. Nobody hit the broadside of a barn tonight. So we come back next week and we execute like we executed tonight against Rutgers and against Nebraska, and we shoot 40%, 50%, we're going to win that ball game because we're probably at least as good, if not better team than Nebraska is, I think. And I know you may have a little different opinion of that, but then we do have to go there and play. So, but we have to win out. But there's not a game on here that we can't win. And Ohio State's in Bloomington. So, and that place will be rabid for that game. So, if it has any kind of meaning at all. But we put ourselves in a position now we have to win out. And we have to have an incredibly strong showing in the Big Ten tournament, which, the Big Ten is just not strong enough. We could do that.
Yeah.
So any other comments on the game that you want to add on before we move on to the next topic I wanted to ask you about?
I think we're done here. I mean, like I said,
right.
I was happy with the effort. Yeah, and
right.
The thing is, we both made a statement at the start of the year. The goal is not to win the game when you play the game, is to play as well as you can. I think they did. They just didn't shoot the ball that well, and sometimes it's just not your night. The only thing that worries me is it seems like most nights over the last month have not been this team's night shooting the ball.
Well, with some different players getting some significant minutes, let's see if that changes. I'm not sure we had inspired play by some of the other players we've had, given minutes to, whereas I think now we're going to get some inspired play, and these guys will calm down and make the shots. Let's give that a test run before we pass judgment on that.
Very good.
Let's go with that. So I want to say it's good effort. I'm really pleased that the younger kids got significant minutes. I thought they all came in and made good contributions. I think there was a lineup in there one time that Johnson and Newkirk were even out. Both were out of the lineup. And I thought we didn't flail anywhere. We didn't flail any worse with them or without them. And, it'd be nice to – my hope is that McSwain and Green and Durham inspire Johnson to play better basketball and to be more focused on what he needs to be doing for this team. That would be my big takeaway for Robert Johnson. And then Newkirk in there to back up Johnson. We pull one out, you put the other one in, you still have some seniority in there. But playing those two together a significant minutes the rest of the season, don't know if that's going to get us any better off than we've been all season long. But that being said, I know you had a unique opportunity this past week, and I wanted you to go ahead and touch on it. I know we both have had some opinions on it, and I know you've changed mine. But tell us a little bit about your experience watching Romeo Langford play. You came back and spoke to me, and she was very excited about it. I know we had some concerns about him being a one-year player. Was that going to really be an asset or liability to building a program? We only have a kid of that talent 1 year. Does it hurt recruiting, help recruiting? But you came away with some different thoughts that I really bought into. So go ahead and tell us what you thought of him.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at a 6'5" shooting guard who could – I saw him play against Jennings County Thursday night. I think he scored 63 points. The gym was packed. There's all kind of excitement surrounding this kid. And the only high school player I've ever seen that was this dominant as a senior was probably LeBron James. And I hate to compare him to somebody that high up, but we're comparing them as high school players. And the thing is this, when the kid plays, he gets his entire team involved. He did, even though he scored 63 points. I think they won the game like 102-54. But he passes the ball, he handles the ball. He's 6'5", he's got great leaping ability. And I really think Indiana needs this kid just for the simple fact that this may be the best Indiana high school basketball player I've ever seen. And I'm almost 50, so I've seen a lot of them. I don't go back, to like George McGinnis, guys like that. But when you watch him play, I mean, you can go to YouTube, find all kind of videos of him. But when you watch him, it looks like an NBA player who showed up to play in a junior high game. I mean, the other kids don't have a chance. And the other thing that really impressed me about the kid, after the game, they opened up like an auxiliary gym at Jennings County, and there's a line of probably 2,000 people going all the way out in a parking lot to go meet the kid, get a picture and an autograph. And the kid sat there for well over an hour signing everything for everybody. He was nice to everybody. I didn't go meet him because I'm not standing in line for an 18-year-old's autograph. It's just a rule of mine. But the thing is this, he looks like he's a well-grounded kid. And then I saw a video. I came home, watched a few videos of his other games. And he played against, I think it was Charlestown, where you got, the Charlestown crowd chanting overrated, making fun of him. And he does not even look at him. I mean, he's getting ready to shoot a free throw, and there's a kid from Charlestown, telling him he was going to miss, and another kid saying he's overrated, and he just stares at him and makes the free throws. So I think even if he's one and done, this is a kid you need just to make Indiana relevant again. Indiana hasn't been relative really since 2002 when they beat Duke in the Sweet 16 and went to the national championship game. I think this is, I'm not going to say it's a must-have because I think Archie's going to figure this out anyways, but this would go a long way into bringing Indiana basketball back just because the one thing I noticed with Indiana, tonight the crowd goes wild when the game gets close at the end, but the crowd is not like it used to be. And I think this brings back 30 years ago, if you get this kid, just in terms of excitement. And there hasn't been excitement here basically this whole century. So I think even if he's one and done, he's a kid from what I saw can make Indiana a Final Four team. And if Juwan Morgan stays, they could be better than that with this kid.
Yeah, and we talked more at length about this off the air, and you sold me on your concepts, and I agree. There's more upside to bring him in, and we're speculating 1 year. We don't know. This kid may want to get a degree, may want to play 2 years. We don't know, and we should only just say, let's just get him here and make him the environment so good he doesn't want to leave Indiana until he, it's Isaiah was like that. Isaiah wanted to win a championship. And I believe had we not won, I don't know that Isaiah wouldn't have stayed a third year. I don't know. I don't know because we did win it. And he had a strong nucleus coming back because that was before Landon got hurt. And, he had a good team coming back that year. But now let me ask you this question. Where, say he comes to Indiana next year, what do you see as his role on this team, and where do you see him fitting in?
I think he could play the point. I think he could play shooting guard. Hell, this kid could play small forward, Steve. He could do whatever you need him to do. And I just think you give him the ball. You get out of his way, let everybody else move around. He will find them. I don't think it's a kid that's going to he may average 30 points a game, but it's not going to take him 30 shots to get it. And I just think the kid, from what I saw, has all the makings of a special basketball player. And that's what Indiana needs, because I'll tell you, you watch Jaren Jackson tonight. It's an Indiana kid that should be playing at Indiana. Before this game, I watched Xavier with Trevon Blewett. And Trevon Blewett, they're losing to Georgetown, and he just completely takes the game over and wins them the game. I mean, they're down 4 with 20 seconds left. He pulls out from 25 feet, shoots a three right in somebody's face, gets fouled, and before you know it, the game's tied. And Indiana, to be successful, needs to recruit the best players in Indiana because, let's face it, the best players in Indiana can shoot free throws and they can shoot three-pointers.
Yeah, I watched some of the UCLA game prior to watching the Indiana game. And Keith Wilkes was strong out for UCLA, too. He's a very strong player, too. Another Indiana kid from North Central. Does Romeo give you Isaiah-like leadership coming in as a freshman?
It's hard to tell in a high school setting, but it seems that he does. Because the one thing about him is a lot of times you get players, compared to Woody Austin. You remember Woody Austin?
Uh-huh.
I saw Woody Austin play in high school. Woody Austin to me was a me guy. And when you watched it, because my big thing with a guy like Romeo Langford or LeBron James or Woody Austin, guys that are studs in high school, is to watch the way they interact with their teammates off of the court, when he goes to the bench or at halftime. And the thing is this, all these kids seem to love him. And to me, that says a lot. And to go towards the one-and-done thing, Trevon Blewett is the perfect example. Nobody at Xavier thought that they were going to have Trevon Blewett for 4 years. But Trevon Blewett wants to win a national championship, and the atmosphere at Xavier is so good that he didn't want to leave. He plays for a coach like Chris Mack, who is a lot like Archie Miller. He's playing defense. He's pounding on you. But the difference between the two teams, Xavier and Indiana, is this. Xavier's got 5 guys that are leaders on the court. Indiana doesn't have any. Romeo Langford can be a leader. From what I saw, Juwan Morgan, as a post player, could be a leader next year if he comes back. Freddie McSwain is a leader. McRoberts is a leader because McRoberts and McSwain are guys that lead by example. You throw a guy like, Juwan Morgan, who can be a vocal leader, and a guy like Romeo Langford, who can run the whole thing, right then you've got a team that can do some damage.
Right. I agree. And I don't think, again, that the fall off, we wouldn't lose anything with the departure of our senior guards and the picking up of a Romeo Langford. And who knows who else he's going to attract, or I don't know how far along we are in the recruiting process aside from him, because it's really all I've ever heard about being talked about.
Well, see, they had a guy
to a great degree.
IU targeted a guy by the name of Darius Garland, who was a really good player. And it appeared that they were going to get them both. But then Vanderbilt got Garland. And that's what kind of threw Vanderbilt into this mix. So I don't even know if it's 50-50 right now, because everything I hear, a lot of people are leading that he's going to go to Vanderbilt. And I know he said that he's not making his announcement to spring, which I think is a bad thing. And the reason I say it's a bad thing is we've had guys in Indiana before that wait till the spring because they want to win Mr. Basketball, and they don't want to put up all the crap of all the fans mad at them because they're not going to Indiana. So that worries me right there. I'm inspired by what you saw, and I just took a step back and took a look at it. And said, right now, what Indiana needs to do is get quality talent, put in uniform, and put them on the floor. And once we get quality talent and playing together, then we can worry about where everybody fits in. But you're not the first person who said that Langford will fit in just about any situation we need to put him into. And I think, the return on investment of getting a player like him in terms of recruiting other players, putting some relevance onto your program, having a positive influence and effect, and for everywhere from the fans in the balcony to the people, the kids on the bench that are playing. I think there's more upside. I don't know the downside now that I've rethought my thinking. If we only have him 1 year, then we do. But I don't know the kid personally what his long-term goals are. So that's good report. I mean, it's good to hear. Now, I guess all we do is sit and wait. Obviously, the better we play right now, the more relevance he's going to see Indiana in. And, these kids still, they don't want to be going and playing on teams that aren't going to dance in March. Nobody wants to be a part of that. It's just, they've got to have that visualization on national TV of playing in the tournament. And if they're not, I really think that factors into a lot of kids, more so than what I was recruiting and when I played. Real quick, if you look right now, Vanderbilt's like 8-14. But the thing about Vanderbilt is they've somehow already recruited 2 of the top 10 players in the country coming in. Right. So that causes problems there too.
That's good to hear. It's good to hear. Now we, not much we can do except wait till spring, see what he decides. I'm sure that Ed Schilling is what I call a master recruiter. He's tremendously good at what he does. I think that's why they brought him back to Indiana. He was the architect of the success, be it as strong or as mild as Alford was having at UCLA. Schilling was the one doing the recruiting out here in Los Angeles. And Ed knows Indiana as well as anybody and knows how to put talent together. You talk about Trayvon. He got Trayvon to Park. He got Yogi Ferrell to Park. I mean, he built a heck of a basketball team. A lot of those kids are playing or will end up playing professional basketball. So leave it in his hands. Let's see what he does. The best thing Indiana can do is go out and start showing good basketball and bring his level of interest back up to a high level that he doesn't feel the weight on his shoulders, but that he has an opportunity to raise the level of the team play and become a vital cog, almost instantaneously for him.
All right, Steve. When's Indiana play again? Monday night or Tuesday night?
Play Monday night. They have 2 games in 3 days, so they get tomorrow off, and then they're on their way to. I'm sure they're on their way to Rutgers tomorrow.
All right.
They play.
We live Monday after the game.
Yeah, let's do that. Monday after the game. It's a Big Ten Network game at 7:00 Eastern time. So let's take a look and see how they do, how they respond to this. I'm expecting Indiana to have a smooth, strong win. Rutgers is not a very good ball club. Hopefully he doesn't jockey with this lineup anymore, other than the fact that maybe he gives Green and Durham some more minutes and lets these kids play some more. And
Steve,
we come away with it.
This could be a 54-52 game because they're 2 of the worst shooting teams in the country.
Yeah, but like I said, shooting is just one of those deals where Indiana can come out and shoot 75% next game. Like I said, I don't know that we ever got yelled at. We got yelled at for taking bad shots, or we got coached for taking bad shots. But I don't know that we ever got coached for just missing shots. If you miss good shots, you miss them. So I'm not going to hang my hat on that. I think if we come out and play the inspired basketball we played tonight, we're on our way to beating Rutgers, and then coming home against Minnesota and Illinois. And then we got Iowa and Nebraska. Iowa, I think we can beat out there. Nebraska, I think I agree with you. It's the toughest game left on the road, obviously, and probably the second most difficult game we have with the exception of Ohio State. But I think we probably handle Ohio State no matter what last game of the season.
All right, Steve. You got anything else?
No, other than the fact you can find us on Grueling Hoops, at Grueling Hoops on Twitter. If Joe wants to call in and critique how I'm doing now, I've made some quick suggestions and made some improvements on things. So, Joe, if you are listening and want to critique, please put it on the website. At srisley34 is my Twitter page. We'll certainly answer any questions we have that we can get. It'd be interesting to see. I think all those that watch the ESPN 30 for 30 program on Bill Parcells and Belichick, apparently 30 for 30 now is doing a dossier on Knight. Just what we need, another hour and a half of reliving something that died 18 years ago. But, that's the legend of Bob Knight, or the era of Bob Knight, but we can't let it go. Much as we have to bring Roseanne back and Will and Grace and Baywatch and everything else, we just can't seem to do anything but rehash old messaging.
Well, there's really nothing bad about bringing back Baywatch, is there?
No, there's nothing bad about bringing back Baywatch.
Okay.
No, I stand corrected there. So look for that sometime coming up. Another opportunity for some people who are mindless and don't have any dadgum sense of what they're talking about other than what they read in the newspapers. It's like Coach Knight used to say about sports writers.
Yep.
Most of us learn to read and write in the first grade and go on to bigger and better things. Okay.
Well,
so
there's a lot of
leave it
guys
at that with the sports writers.
And they all work at ESPN.
That or he would ask for 50 seconds worth of silence. And then he said he would pay any reporter who could report the last 60 seconds accurately.
But all right, Steve.
All right,
we will be back.
Good
Monday
effort by
night.
Indiana tonight. I mean, it's as positive as we could have hoped for. A win. We were close, but I thought we did. The next best thing to winning that game is how he played tonight and the moves that he made to change things up a little bit and change the dynamics. So we'll see if that takes hold Monday at Rutgers. Look forward to talking to everybody then. So, Mike, you want to sign us off?
All right, guys. Make sure you check us out, gruelingtruth.net. Hit up mybookie.ag to bet the Super Bowl tomorrow. Just click on the banner on the gruelingtruth.net. You can hear all of our shows on iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, Google Music. Anywhere you find sports podcast, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.